Youngseek County. And we'll start off with them just doing a little brief introduction about who they are and how they came here. And then we'll have lots of time for questions. So as they're talking, please feel free to start thinking of questions to ask them. And we'll just go ahead and get started with Dr. Adler.
Hi everyone. So yes, I am Melissa Adler. I came here from Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin-Madison, where I earned my PhD in LIS with a minor. We do minors there, so I have a PhD minor in gender and women's studies. And so my research all has to do with issues around gender and sexuality and classification. I'm particularly interested in those categories that don't actually work very well. So queer studies comes into play quite a lot, as do other areas, disability studies, and critical animal studies, and things like that, to try to figure out what to do when things don't fit into the boxes that we've created. So I look at library classifications and look at sort of how those things are formed and how they come to have power, and the practices and processes that are involved with that. But I also look at things like social networks, where people are tagging their own resources to see what kind of names people assign to things that actually matter to them in ways that are outside of these sort of bureaucratic systems. So there's kind of a back and forth with my work, and it's to try to look at it from sort of this big bureaucratic angle and historical and things like that, and also at a much more localized and personal level, to just kind of figure out how to get those all to work the best that they can. So I teach 602, Information, Representation, and Access, and I've got kind of a history of teaching RDA and cataloging and so on, and it's kind of a fun and interesting time to be in this field because metadata is very exciting. We're making this transition to RDA, and there's all kinds of anxiety and excitement. So it's exciting.
Hello everyone, my name is Youngseek. I'm a new faculty member at the School of Library Information Science, and what I need to say. So I'm originally from Korea, South Korea, definitely, and I majored during my undergraduate. I majored religious studies. Actually, that's a totally different area from this information science. Actually, the way I became to know information science, I had the opportunity to become an exchange student. So I did my another 1 year exchange student program at the University of Missouri. It's very close from here. So I spent 1 year, and I became to know the area of information science. So I decided to pursue my master in information management. So I did my master at Syracuse University in 2006, and then right after that, I decided to pursue my doctoral degree in information science and technology at the same institution. So I got my master's and doctoral degree from Syracuse University. My research, it is very hard to kind of define my research area because I kind of touch a bunch of different areas, and I think that might be some typical problem for junior faculty member or doctoral student. So I touched many different areas in this information science. But now I want to claim my main research area is e-science or data science, and I wrote my dissertation, what kind of factors influencing scientists' data sharing behavior. So I took more social psychology and organizational behavior approach in my dissertation research. But my prior research, I did research the curriculum development for e-science professional. And actually, I really want to introduce what is e-science professional and their positions and their work today. And also I did some research in the web advertisement and information behavior. And also I did another research stream, the technology adoption and use. So I did some extensive study in how people adopt smartphone and smartphone application and how they use those kind of technology for their daily life. But now I'm more interested in this data science and e-science. And I think data science, so you may heard about this big data or like the deluge of data. And I think there are many programs they are developing curriculum focusing this area. And I think this is a very interesting phenomenon. And I believe the library science program can produce the new information professional, which can work in this the deluge of data. Okay, and teaching. Currently, I'm teaching information organization and information architecture, and at Syracuse University, I taught several sessions of human-computer interaction and information management. And actually, sometimes I taught applied economics because they need instructor, and I think I can teach this course. So one semester I taught applied economics too. And in the future, I'm very interested in teaching some kind of course like digital curation or data curation, and also digital library. What else? I think that's it for now.
Well, thank you both very much. We're open the floor to questions. And I'm going to start off, and I think for me this question is settled, but it's still in the back of my mind. Why did you do a PhD? And what would you say to someone who's thinking about doing a PhD?
Lady first.
I did a PhD. Well, I've always known that I wanted to do a PhD at some point. I think I did this when I was a little kid. But I didn't know what it was going to be in. So I had dreams of being an art professor when I was little. And so I think it was just this kind of sort of fuzzy dream on some level, and then I went into librarianship, and I remember I did a lot of authority control at my job as a librarian, and I got really angry. I was like, "Why? What's going on here? Has anybody noticed that this is a problem?" And so I started taking notes, and I started a file that had all the subject headings that made me mad. And then I started looking them up, and then I found out, oh yeah, there is a body of research that's looking at this, but I decided that's what I wanted to do. And so, and I knew I needed to go back to school to do it. And then it was a matter of timing, and things just came together. So, and what was the second part? So why did
What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about a PhD program? Things to consider, or challenges that you had that you maybe didn't expect while you were in your PhD program?
Well, for me, I had a particularly, I guess, strange experience as a single mother. So it was very isolating in many ways. And I think that's a common experience for a lot of people that go through the PhD program anywhere you go. So I would say, find your people, find people that can help all over the place. Because I ended up forming networks and finding my people. And I think without certain people, my advisor in particular, I think if it weren't for her, I don't know if I would make it. I think if you can identify your people, even if it's just a couple, they'll be your, that you can just sort of rely on to trust that they'll give you the right advice and support you, because they're out there. There's all kinds of different things. For me, what happened is, I ran into all kinds of challenges and opportunities, and sort of trying to figure out, okay, is this something to do, or is this bad news? Where to go, because you don't know. It's all new. So having someone that you can finding at least a couple people that will support support you, on your team. But if it's, for me, that's probably the number one thing.
Okay. So first, why I did PhD. Okay. I don't know how I need to say about this.
Do you know why you did a PhD?
So, I think I know. But it's a very long time ago, 5 years ago, when I decided to pursue PhD degree. And actually recently, my wife just started her PhD degree in public administration here, so we had a lot of big discussion about this PhD program. So when I pursued my master's degree, I didn't think of I can pursue PhD degree because I didn't expect to pursue PhD degree by that point. Because I was thinking, once I finish my master's degree, I want to find a job and a more professional job, and I want to work and I want to earn money. But I spent another 5 more years to pursue my PhD and to get this job and to support myself. So I spent additional 5 more years to pursue PhD. One of the practical reasons I decided to pursue PhD, end of my master program, to be honest with you, I applied a bunch of different positions, but I didn't get a job at that time. So I think one of the main reasons I want to work in US to have experience, but because of I think language barrier, I still have my language barrier too. But I couldn't get any job here, and even I applied some position in my country, but I cannot get any job by at that time. It was 2008, and then at the last semester, I was thinking to pursuing PhD because I talked to a couple of professors, and they recommended me to pursue PhD degree, and I saw I'm not ready yet, so I kind of denied I cannot apply, but they highly encouraged me to apply. Actually, one professor, his name is Dr. Michael Morris, and I worked for him in management school. He is a faculty member in management school, and he knows me very well, and I had several conversations with him, and he's one of the persons who highly recommended me pursuing doctoral degree and become a professor. So after I had some communication with him, and I decided to pursue PhD degree. And actually, here's another reason. And at that time, I saw professors, the professional professor is very nice job because it looks like they have a lot of time and they have a lot of flexibility. Seems like they are making good money, but actually there is some kind of misperception. Now I realize, I think I'm always busy, although the professor looks like they have flexible schedule, but I always spending a lot of time preparing courses and also doing my research and services. So that was kind of misperception, but so far I like it a lot. And my advice for some students who are considering PhD degree, actually this is some advice which I gave to my wife, and who recently decided to pursue PhD degree, although I don't want her to pursue PhD degree. So I told her, is it worth spend 4 or 5 more years studying, and also actually the main advice which I want to give is you should have some passion about research and teaching. So if you are interested in some social phenomena and you want to figure out what's going on there and you want to demonstrate like underlying meaning of those phenomena, and I think you definitely qualify for researchers. And I think I'm very interested in those social phenomena. I want to conduct actual research to figure out what's going on in that phenomenon. So that's the main reason. And also you should like teaching too. So as a faculty member, research is one side of it, so you also like you also need to enjoy teaching too. So if you like research and teaching, and you need to be self-disciplined. So to become faculty or to finish your doctoral degree, you need to be very self-disciplined. So although there is no like big organization always give me some work to do, but I need to find those work by myself, and I need to finish on time. So you need to be very self-disciplined. So if you're qualified for these three criteria, I definitely want to recommend you pursue a PhD degree.
Thank you both. Questions from Mr. Heber?
So, Dr. Adler, when you're assigning power to classification or examining the power that's assigned to classification, what theoretical frameworks are you using?
Mostly Foucault. Foucault's all over. Kind of everything he's written speaks to my work. So primarily discipline and punish is at work with my dissertation, but really kind of everything. Because now, the other pieces that I also look at his later work where he starts talking about the care of the self and techniques of the self, technologies and writing, and I kind of ask, well, is that something that's happening in tagging? Is that a form of expressing yourself? Is it some way of sort of pushing against these other systems? I'm not sure, I haven't decided, because there's another kind of disciplining that's happening in those sites as well. But so Foucault mostly, then also Caraway, situated knowledges, and Agamben, especially his work on apparatuses and so on.
Have you considered symbolic interactionism at all?
Oh, yeah, that's in there, sort of, yeah. And it's especially because, what's interesting, especially about my dissertation, is that what I did was I sort of tracked how topics and subjects and books moved in and out of the category sexual perversion over time, over 100 years plus. And so part of that was, then an era when that entered into the social science research, where it hadn't been, then the social interactions sort of comes into play, and those theorists worked with sexuality. So it all kind of comes together.
Dr. Adler, you talked about making a list of irksome authority-controlled issues in your work in a library. Did you find any that were specific to children or youth topics?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't recall actually, but it doesn't mean that they're not there. I think I was looking for a certain type of topic. It happened to be that the library that I was working in, they might not have come up in the work I was doing. But I think it's a good idea. I'm sure they're there. Just the very basic, we call it young adult literature or whatever, but what we do is we categorize it as juvenile literature or juvenile fiction or something like that, which people aren't likely to look for.
I prepared this one page. So actually this is a handout to introduce the e-science professionals. I know many of students in this school pursuing their career or traditional library science or librarian positions, but I just want to introduce this new information professionals position available out there. And actually this is one of the research work which I did at Syracuse University. So I think I can briefly talk about this, the e-science professionals. let's say, where to start? So the background, so this is the first page. So actually this is very, the big research work which we did. I worked with, mainly with Professor Jeffrey Stanton at Syracuse University. So this is the curriculum development for this new information professional position. And what we did at Syracuse University, we interviewed the researchers and people from many universities and research centers, and we talk about their needs of this new information professional. And we call it e-science professional. And at the background, actually scientists and engineers, they generate a lot of data these days. And also, however, they don't have good expertise in managing those data. And also they need a lot of technology skill, and we do not expect our e-science professional to become computer scientists or technicians, but this e-science professional become a middleman, can communicate with the scientists and help them to manage and find information and organize their information, and also they can communicate with this computer scientists and or engineers and develop any kind of software program to support their data or information management. And we recommend to them have some kind of some basic knowledge in this domain area. And so what we did after we conduct those interview and focus group with this, the researchers and the directors from research centers and universities, and we sent out, we recruited 6 students. So 6 library science students. Actually, 5 of them, their major is library and information science, and 1 of them, their major is information management. So we have actually 2 master programs. One is library science, and the other one is information management. And 5 of them are the library science students. And we recruit 6 students who are interested in this position, and we train them, and then we send out them to put a summer internship to this research institution, and they work there, and they report to us what kind of work they did, and so some kind of job criteria, and something like that. And then we also conduct some job market analysis to understand what kind of position available outside and in the job market. So that's the major work we did. And we found, at the next page, you can see job market analysis. We found that there are a lot of new information professionals position available. And our students who major library science, and by taking additional courses, I think they can definitely pursue and work in this position, in this new science professional position. And it was very surprising because only 2 months, and we only did this job search in only research institution, and we found about more than 200 e-science professional positions. Actually, it was very surprising too. Some of them require master degree in library science. And actually, some of them require a master degree in computer science. However, actually the job qualification looks like they are looking for someone in library science rather than computer science, because they don't know exactly what computer scientists do. But some of the jobs, they require this position with degree of library science. So this is some report, the final outcome. This e-science professional need to have some skill in this information organization, representation, and also they need to have good communication skill and some management skill too. And also they don't need to be a technician, but they need to have good understanding about the technology. So this is the 3 major areas they need to have for this e-science professional position. And at the end, actually, we have six e-science professional, the guinea pig, and we send out to the internship. And actually, at the end of their graduation, 5 of them find a job in the research centers and also industry. Actually, 3 of them find a job in universities, and 2 of them find a job in the industry. Actually, industries, there are like a lot of needs of these e-science professionals, new information professionals. So we built our new program in data science concentration there at Syracuse University, and I wish I can develop some kind of curriculum for those students who pursue their career in this new information professional position at UK.
And with have you noticed if when they're with these job analyses, if they tend to prefer students who have like an undergrad background in science, or if they're open to like arts and humanities students?
Yeah, that's true. When we talk to the directors and the researchers at major research institutions, they prefer to have someone who major in the STEM discipline for their undergraduate, because they need to have some basic understanding in their subject area, but it's not required.
Okay.
So within your major, even you major humanities or social science, I think there are more needs in that area too, like digital humanities and social science. So now social scientists generate a lot of data, and we also need to think about how we can manage those data. And so based on your undergraduate major, I'm pretty sure any student can find some relevant e-science professional position in the job market.
Sean, you have a question?
Yes. Let's see. Dr. Huber mentioned Foucault, but is there, either to both of you, is there anybody within the field that you've been impressed with or built your work on or want to continue to investigate and the like?
Give me a minute. You get your first.
So, Sean, what is your question?
Yeah, is there anybody who's inspired you from within information science or library science or related to what you do that you draw upon, that you work upon,
Okay.
instead of just outside?
Sure. I think I can talk about my dissertation work related to that. So in this, the field of information science is I would say is a relatively new field compared to other major disciplines. So we many times we bring some theoretical framework from other disciplines. So although I did my dissertation research in this area of data science, so I particularly focused on scientist data sharing behavior. So I would say basically this research is the information behavior research and also scholarly communication research. But what I did for my dissertation research, I approached the social psychology approach with organizational behavior approach. So scientists, we can explain scientists' data sharing behavior based on their own motivation and also the way they work in this big institution. Their behavior, their information behavior influenced by not only their motivation, but it's also influenced by the institutional norm and the pressures. So I'm looking at those two perspectives together. I think basically for the theoretical framework which I used for the organization level behavior is the institutional theory by Scott and DiMaggio and Paul. And for the individual motivation theory, I used agents theory of planned behavior. So by combining those two frameworks, I can nicely explain scientist data sharing behavior. So many times what we did in social science research, we only looking at one level, either individual level or the organization level. But our behavior cannot explain by only one level. We need to think about different levels. So I use this multi-level approach to understand the scientist information behavior. And I think those approach was very useful. And I wish I can pursue more research in that area. I hope this is answering.
Yeah, so for me, I think the most obvious person is Hope Wilson, who is at Milwaukee, and she's done work that's really kind of paved the way for people like me. She used post-colonial and feminist approaches, drawing from Derrida, to look at kind of the same things that I do. So Library of Congress subject headings and classifications and Dewey and so on. And so she's certainly kind of, she's the big one. And then of course, people that sort of critique my work are always saying, so what sets you apart from someone like Sandy Berman? Because Sandy Berman's done all this already. and I say, no. Yeah, he looks at all these headings as they are now, but we need someone to really figure out how these things came to be and how they've taken hold in the world and sort of, so the Foucault, term is a genealogy of how power does take hold in these kinds of systems and what that means really. And so Hope Wilson's big, and then the others. She directly speaks to my field, but then others that have brought in these kinds of, so John Budd and Gary Radford, and those kinds of people that have kind of called for more critical theory in the field. Helps the field.
So, Dr. Kim, you talked about the importance of having a passion for research and for teaching. What do you find most rewarding about teaching?
Most rewarding about teaching? I think by the way, please call me Youngseek. I think most rewarding moment would be when, first of all, when students find my course is interesting and useful, and which is helpful for their career. But eventually, when they finish their work, when they graduate, when they find actual job and which they like. Actually, when I work with this e-science professional project, and I was very touching when they finish, when they graduate, and most of them find a job in the area they like to join. And this is something which I like about teaching.
Me too. Okay. So the thing that gets me going with teaching is just when you have that moment and they get excited about something. So a couple of weeks ago we were in the, what room is that? 345 or wherever all the big red books are, the Dewey tables and so on. And we go in there and we're looking at subject headings, and then one of the students said, "I could just do this for hours." Yay. Okay. Me too. She gets it. It's so exciting. This is, yeah, she said something like she could get addicted to it. Which, it's moments like that when you realize, that passion is sort of contagious, and that you can get other people to be, not just learn it and not just learn how to do it, but get them excited about it, get them excited about the profession, and yeah, I love that. I love those moments.
So
Stu, you were talking about being excited about the profession. You were talking about students finding employment. You all just went through a job search of your own.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about how that process worked for you? Was it challenging? Was it longer than you thought? Was it, how did it work?
I think for me it's kind of opposite. Luckily, thanks to you guys, and you guys hire me in advance. I mean, early enough, so I don't need to worry about that much about job search. And actually, when I start to conduct my job search, and I heard many bad things or many difficulties about job search from my senior student, so I worry too much about this job search, finding a job in academia, because I saw this very difficult. But that time I was writing my dissertation, and I want to focus on just particular schools, so I didn't apply many different, like a lot of different faculty positions, but I only apply. I conduct very extensive research about school, and I only applied several schools which I'm most interested in. So I think that worked well to me, and I'm very glad I can join the UK School of Library Information School. Compared to Melissa's experience, actually we met at the ASICS. So we were talking about job search at the time. It was funny, we got a job here together. So for me, luckily it was not that much difficult, and I really enjoyed my job search. And finally, I think I found the right place, hopefully.
I think it was painful mainly because it's so anxiety producing. Because you pour your whole life into, getting a PhD, and you are ideally driven by passion and excitement, and it's like you just put your whole entire being into this thing. And now you're like, oh my God, now am I going to get a job? And so for me, it's quite nerve-wracking. And then to try to present yourself in a way that's going to
Right.
attract, because you hear so many things out there, and then you read the job ads, and all of them, you don't really, it's hard sometimes to make sense of what they're really looking for. So and then you end up just saying, okay, well, I just have to be myself, because I'm not going to try to sell someone, something that I'm not, obviously, but it's still just,
I agree.
it's just, nerve-wracking. The whole, just the process is,
Yeah, actually.
You do, I just think everything that's swirling around, you do hear, especially in the last couple of years, about so many people not getting jobs.
Right.
I think this field is a little bit better, a lot better than a lot of other fields.
Right.
So that makes it.
I think I have one advice for the student who may look for a job at this moment. Because after I finished my master's degree, I applied a bunch of different positions, but I didn't get any job at the time. And when I finished my doctoral degree, luckily I got a job even before I graduate. I think here's one advice for those students. When I applied job at the time, and although I worked hard and I prepared myself very well, but job search is kind of different process from what you already did before. So you need to prepare well how to present yourself to the job market. So you need to spend good amount of time how you can present yourself to others. So it's painful, but I think it is very worth to spend that time.
Yeah, it does become, I think depending on how many places you apply, it can become a job in itself because you need to do your research. You need to figure out where you want to be and who the people are.
I have a question for you, Mr. Kim. With your chart about the e-science professionals, many of the things that they need to know about are investigate technologies and recommend technical solutions,
Right.
implement technologies.
But
Some of the job descriptions you said you were tilted more towards computer science, and some were more towards LIS. And students in LIS sometimes are not always at the level
Right,
of
right,
the technology
that's
that
true.
someone in CS might be.
Right.
And the CS student doesn't have all the other
but
expertise
Right.
that LIS
Right.
brings. What kinds of courses specifically do you think are important to someone who aspired to be an e-science professional? And that would include even maybe new courses that we don't currently offer, or
so you mean in the area of technology?
yes, in the
Okay.
area of technology. What kinds of things should students be looking at?
Okay. I think that's a really good question, and that's something we spend a lot of time to think about it in our curriculum development. So here is some dilemma, what we encountered. The library science student has their expertise in information organization and management, but they don't have good technology knowledge. But computer scientists, or computer engineers, they have a good amount of knowledge in the technology, but they don't know exactly, I mean, they are developers and they are engineers, but they may have they have concept of a database, but they don't know exactly about this metadata or information organization and management, what we usually teaching in this library and information science course. So I think the basic internet technology course or information technology course which you teach, Professor Miller, might be helpful for that position. But what we recommend for our curriculum, we need to train our students to understand basic programming. I think basic programming is the most important skill which we found in this research work to become an e-science professional. So the programming, so many students are scared about this programming, but this is just basic and scripting language. So if the student have those basic programming like a scripting and also some knowledge about database or information system, I think they can work as an information professional, this new information professional. Is that, or
Other questions? What do you like about Kentucky?
Let's see here. Well,
What do you don't like about Kentucky?
Yeah, wish list is one.
we like Kentucky, but when we first arrived here, the first thing that we kind of looked for was an arts community, because my kids and I are all have some kind of interest in the arts, and they're little artists. And so the first thing that we found was that the Living Arts and Sciences Art Center, and we just fell in love with it. And so I signed them up for some classes there. I love it because it blends science and arts, and they offer classes and they're expanding and all this. But it was a way for us to get in, sort of, and talk to people that work there. And we found out, yeah, there is kind of a great art community here. So and it's really, it's a good thing to know. When you come into a town that with cutbacks everywhere and with, those kinds of things you hear about or you see arts, kind of getting the chopping block. But here it seems like the arts are celebrated. So that's my perception anyway, and I appreciate that very much. So I would say that, just that sense that arts and culture and things like that are here. There's a place for us here.
Have you seen all of the painted bourbon barrels yet?
No. But there was this interesting story on Q, that Canadian radio show. We get that here through the public radio station, and they were saying that Kickstarter is like now is the number one agency or whatever you would call it that actually funds the arts and that funds creative projects, far surpassing any kind of granting agency, the government or anything. And so it was kind of a commentary on how there really is no money out there for the arts, but the fact that there is a huge demand for it because people are giving their money in this Kickstarter campaign. So anyway, so my point is that Lexington seems to have that going on.
So for me, I don't have much time to explore Lexington and Kentucky yet, so I cannot make any comment about the city or the state. But I like this geographic location a lot. I don't know, for some reason, I think because I'm from Korea, but my province, the hometown, is like Kentucky or Missouri in US. It's very middle of South Korea. And I think because of that reason, when I spent 1 year in Columbia, Missouri, I feel like it's kind of my hometown, very rural area. But when I spent 7 years in Syracuse, New York, but after that I visit Lexington, Kentucky, when I had the job interview, and I feel like I'm coming back to my hometown. I feel very comfortable, and I like this weather, and the geographic location, and people. People seems more friendly. So I think that's one of the reasons I decided to take this position. Actually, I remember one faculty member is talking to me the limitation of this geographic location, but I think that is one of the benefit or advantage of this geographic location. So I like it so far, but I wish I would like to explore this city and Kentucky, and Nin gave me 2 books about this, the city, introduced this city, and actually I even bought another 2 books about Kentucky and Lexington. So whenever, hopefully, once I have time, I want to explore the city and this state with my wife.
It's an interesting city because we're trying to figure it out. Because there's all this, sort of interesting history. It seems to be like there's almost this like kind of decadent kind of thing. There's tobacco and bourbon and horses and all these things happening. And then
They used to call it the Athens of it was the Athens of the East or the West, I forget.
yeah, there's all this kind of like gritty stuff. And then but it's also in the Bible Belt, and there's also some conservatism and some very progressive people. I can't make sense of it yet. I haven't figured it out.
I think Lexington, was the first in the state to pass the smoking ban.